Stream here on the twitch.tv/the Xisuma. And bear with me here at the beginning of the stream as I check on settings and stuff. The last attempt to go live crashed due to the order in which I executed some events. And I've learned that I have to execute them in a different order. Yeah, I've switched to OBS and I'm using a plugin to record the game, and it's a little... Oh, there's a word for this, but you know, like sensitive. And so I'm still figuring out how it works. But in order to avoid crashing, it looks like I've got to start the recording, then start the stream. So I'm learning as I go. What was weird was the other day... Actually, no, that does make sense. Because the other day we were streaming, we stopped the recording and we could resume it. I don't know. I'll figure it out with time. We have some new music to listen to today. We have been blessed. We're listening to Atlantean Sword, some dungeon synth from the UK. It's got its own particular vibe of fantasy. It's named after Conan the Barbarian, so I think it kind of takes like a little influence from that universe, and it's decent stuff. And I'm stoked that we're able to stream it. So we got some different vibes in the background today. I was also really suspicious in another stream that where I'd reset everything up, we needed to turn up the audio. I never really went back and checked that again. So today, let's drop it on 25%. And I'll pay attention to if anyone points it out in chat or anything like that. Billman68 coming in for 110 months with some bananas there. Thank you so much, my dude. Glad to see you're still around. Juberin says, X, have you played the April Fool's snapshot? Oh, just give me an opportunity for sass, are you? That's what you're just like, oh, I'm going to get X to do sass. Oh, have I? Sorry, have I uploaded a video yesterday on April Fool's to my channel playing the April Fool's snapshot? I don't know, I could go to my channel, I could look at it, and I could find out, and then I could answer your question for you. I could be like, oh, look, I did upload a video. Because I got no memory of anything at all. That's how I know if I played it, but I'll go back to my channel. Hey, X, do you play on Hermitcraft server? Oh, let me go check my channel and find out. Let me go check it and find out. Peeps, I got a hot cup of tea. That gives me an excuse to put the tea emote on the screen. We love the emotes. Guran, thank you ever so much for 14 months. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Asuma, do you play this game called Minecraft? Why is that message on my other screen? What is this? Who is Heart Gamer? What? Huh? What's a game? This is just reality. A Dead Girl 13, totally not dead because you're resubscribing for 35 months. You came into a sassy Asuma. I didn't know I had it in me, did I? I didn't know I had it in me. Oh, we're really going for it now. Are you in the next MCC? Oh, I'll just go check the MCC website and find out who's in it. That's what I'll do. Then I'll know if I'm in it. Great. Great. What's on my list? Trip to the trial chambers. We got to do the thing in the Nether. We got to do the thing in my Nether. I also want to do like a little light level check around the base. Make sure everything's safe at some point. Right, let's grab a stupendous amount of... Well, I want that. I probably want ender pearls to get out of danger. And a stupendous amount of stone. Should do the job today. It's PowerBoz2025 coming in for 14 months. Thank you for your continued support, my dude. Appreciate it. Hype train has begun. Level 1. Phoenix, thank you for tuning in. 20 streams in a row. That's amazing. Callie, thank you so much for 86 months. A stray cat teaching her kittens how to hunt. Call that a tutorial. Thanks. Tutorial. Yeah, chew is probably... Tutorial. Yeah, it's probably pretty... It's like choo-choo train. Tutorial, not tutorial. That's too accurate, man. It's too accurate for me. What's my brain telling me to do? It's telling me to get things while I talk. Extra cool. Are you a content creator by any chance? Do you do live streaming? Do you do live stream? You know? Do you know what? I don't have an extra an extra... Oh, do you know what? Golden apple. Golden apple would be the one, right? I'll put that on my hotbar. So those are my oops, I'm in trouble things over there. I could, if I'm really paranoid, I could even put on some different armor, but I think that'll do. Famous last words. JSTP, thank you for 80 streaks. Oh, I wonder if we're going to have like a 100 streak at some point. Heart Gamer, thank you for 45 streams in a row. Sharu Manaru's here for 77 months. Always a good day when Xisuma streams. Is it now? Perhaps it's a reflection of my energy. Like if you get sass, then I'm in a good mood, maybe? It's like an unhinged Q&A. Oh, asking questions are we now? Actually, you made a statement, so that doesn't work. Callie says, trust me, I'm working on that 100 streak. What if I did like a 1-minute stream in the middle of the night? Would it break everyone's streaks? In fact, I streamed for 2 seconds before OBS crashed earlier, but it didn't count that, did it? Jesse G. Waltney, thank you so much for 6 months. I appreciate it and hope you enjoyed today's stream. Oh man, that's some good tea right there. That is some good tea. I knew that would hit, right? Had a very active day. I've pretty much been on my feet like most of the day. So I feel like I'm kind of good to sit down for a while. Yesterday, being at the computer really wore me out. Because I was playing that snapshot for ages, and oh my goodness me, was it grindy. It was tedious. I'm so glad, like, I was enjoying it, and then there was like a lot of footage that I cut out of my video where I was just continuing to fail to make progress. And the whole slowness of everything you do had me eager to like advance and discover stuff that I just couldn't do the basics. It was so slow. I kept missing important things that needed doing. And, you know, I went to a cave to get iron, and then it was like, oh my God, I've got to light this thing up, haven't I? And that, you know, making torches just took forever. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. Like, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? And I actually, for a moment there, I was like, do you know what? I think I might just give up and not make this video. And then I thought, but I could go in a creative mode and explore all the other things. So I thought, let's do it. Let's do it in creative mode. And then I started having fun again, you know? We've reached level 2 of the hype train. The hype train is rolling in. We got the Pixel X here for 5 months. Thank you so much. Time flies. When will it slow down? It only ever speeds up, my dude. Jewel, thank you for your 40 streams in a row. We got the Jelly Jug here for 2. We got Captain Rogers coming in for 4 months. Getting X to be sassy. You think this is a game? It's a game to some. I mean, I know people are trying in chat. NH Jace is struggling to craft a pickaxe. Make sure you get the orientation of the crafting table the right way. That didn't cross my mind because you're just not used to crafting upside down, you know? Like, shapeless crafting is one thing. We know, oh yeah, you can kind of do this recipe in any variety of ways. I tell you what, I don't want to go down there before I finish my cup of tea. So I will just hang out and read chat with all of you. You lost your 37 stream streak, you're sad? Hey man, don't even think about it. Like, those whole streak numbers, and it's all psychology. Alright? Like, someone goes and puts a number on something and you feel differently about it. Just tune in and have fun. And thank you for 37. Oh, goodness me. Yeah, I really want to enjoy this tea. So when you're crafting, like, your crafting is always oriented the same way for you. But then when you're in the world, like, it just didn't cross my mind it could be upside down. I spent like a good 20 minutes on that, you know? And it was very grindy. And I was just at the computer for ages. And that's my problem, really, is that I don't do well sitting at the computer for a long period of time. Did I like the new Dimmu song? I loved it. Yeah, it felt like, you know, Abrahadabra and an Onion continuing that line, but a little bit more of like a more old school Dimmu feel in there, just a little bit. I liked it a bit more than the way they've approached that stuff in the past. Khan Master, thank you ever so much for 2 months with the Prime. Appreciate it. How y'all liking the music in the background so far? It's very like metallic. The synths are metallic. The drum strikes are. It's quite a bold sound. Quite imposing. Can I press tab? I can. Corrales is on. It's been quiet though. I think the next few days are going to be quiet. I think hermits are probably getting ready for the charity. It's now just like next weekend, right? It's like 8 or 9 days away. Ching, Lish, Finn, thank you so much for 14 months. Appreciate you, my dude. Thanks for supporting. It's also Easter weekend this weekend. Yep. So peeps might be away. I will be... What's my stream plan? Do I have one? I can't... I'm not sure I've thought that far ahead, actually. But I
really hope you enjoy your journey down the West Tunnel. Feel free to grab yourself some rockets, golden carrots, and set spawn for your safety.
Thanks. Is the rockets me? Is the rockets me? Or is Impulse doing some rockets up there? Dude, this awesome. I actually have an Xisuma banner that we could put on our side. Are we gonna compete for like who's got the best tunnel now? Tunnel Wars. Tunnel Rats. Very similar. I mean, we got to get Tango in here. Joel, I think Doc's down here as well. I'm sure we could team up and do something awesome like that, right? Oh, now you got me thinking. I'm gonna go clone that banner and put one in here. Thomason, thank you so much for 13 months. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thin Real West, thank you for 52 months. So much amazing support. Chimera says, did someone say tunnel rats? I said tunnel rats. I said it, my dude. Yo, Powerballs, thank you for the cheers and the biddies. Appreciate your support. We've now reached level 3 of the hype train. Where am I? I'm looking at the wrong screen. Let's not walk into walls and embarrass myself. There's no song name, only the artist. Is that intentional? It is. So the song names are written in ye old English or something, and they don't translate on the song thing on the screen in the bottom left. The record after this, it will do. I was half tempted to just rename them normal, but then I was like, whatever. All right, so if we go get a black banner, we can do that. What? Someone has to explain the hype train to me. I've never seen it, as I rarely use Twitch. I believe it is Twitch's way of encouraging subscriptions and biddies. But we have embraced it by creating an animated train that is a little reward for reaching those goals. So if we make them, we get to see cool animations on the stream, which I think is pretty cool. Some stream delay? I got no idea how much stream delay there might be. Let's it clones everything. It clones the name of it as well. That's cool. Let's go put this down. You like the train? The train's cool. And Puka's working on the 11th carriage, which it's gonna be cuteness. Unbelievable amounts of cuteness. You get a special emote if you gift during one, says Bogus Pearl. Ah, okay. Is that something I have to set up though, or is it a Twitch thing? Because it used to be really simple, and then they just keep adding more and more, like, you know, things, and I go into the control panel and I'm just bombarded with options, it seems. Makes you wish you could do 3D animation. You can always learn, right? That's what's amazing about being a human. We get to learn things. Lately, I've been learning songs, like lots of songs. I've gotten really good at sight reading after starting to play piano. So there's some Old Man's Child songs, and oh, I love Old Man's Child. It's getting me hyped. I need to have like a writing session soon, because listening to some classic Old Man's Child again has just like got the brain firing with ideas. Like I love the way the riffs feel on the guitar and how the synth mixes, and it gets me thinking about the composition of the song and stuff. But basically, the last time I did like a browse over Old Man's Child and what kind of tabs are available, like there wasn't a lot, but now with this website Song Store, it feels like there's loads more tabs. And I just wandered back into there and found like 3 new songs that I want to learn. And I could have gone a bit deeper and found a few more, but I thought, let's not go overboard. So I'm learning 3 new songs on the guitar. And I learn them really quick these days. It's just, that's a skill. That's what learning is, right? You get better at it.
Hope you enjoy your journey.
I heard it already!
Feel
Impulse!
free to grab yourself
Stop
some
showing off!
rockets, golden carrots, and set spawn for your safety.
That show off. I should make a note about that quickly. Post-stream notes. Where are my post-stream notes? Thank you very much. Let me rephrase. I wish I had more time to learn, not enough hours in the day. Fair enough, fair enough. I mean, like, people say that casually sometimes, but I like to try and think less of being like time poverty and more like time rich, as in you get to make choices, right? And like, you know, sometimes you got to be like, hey, there's a part of your day where you spend like doom scrolling, and maybe you can find a way to take that back and you know, turn that into some proper valuable time. But that, I'm not saying that's you. Some people genuinely, you know, are doing what they can with their time, but it's like, it's in the language and it's in the attitude, and you can see it sometimes where people talk about things like, oh, you know, wish I had the time for that, and then you spend 3 hours in the evening watching telly. It's like, you do have the time again. It's just, you got to make those choices. Reclaim the brain rot and loss of time. Absolutely. Costa Cleo says, I'm listening to Born of the Flickering right now. It just came on when you were talking about it. Great record. Those early Old Man's Child's one, they're not my like go-to records, but when I listen to them, they're really good. You really get grabbed by them. But they always sound a bit dusty when you first put them on. They sound like, oh, they're the old songs or whatever. But then you let them play and they're like, oh my god, they're great. Whereas that polished era with what's the name of the record? Revelation 666 and the following one, Felonies of the Lost Art, or is that the song that's on it? My brain used to be really sharp with this stuff, I tell you. Getting old ain't fun. But those 2 records, when they go heavy on the symphonic sound, oh man, I love it. Those are my easy to listen to records right there. We finished the hype train at level 4. Thank you everyone so much for your amazing support. Apparently we had 15 gifted subs. I think I might have missed those. Let me go back and check. Did I miss gifted subs? When did those come through? Are they not showing on my feed today? I'm reading it all again now because I'm like, when did they come through? I'm not seeing any mention of gifted subs. Gifted subs are not filtered out. Huh. Well, whoever did that, thank you. Chibi says I didn't see gifted subs. Maybe the message is what's wrong. Northern Rose, thank you so much for 3 months. 3 months of pinching music recommendations off you in the quiet. If you want any more Ask in Chat, I always love talking about music and can recommend stuff. You got to give me an idea of what you're looking for, and then I'll be able to narrow something down, right? Anyway, tea is almost finished. I'm so happy I decided to sit here and enjoy this tea, because having a chat with y'all is perfectly fine. And we don't have to be productive, do we? Opal Hummel coming in with the test. Thank you for gifting 5 subs, my dude. Well, it would appear that Twitch goofed up and the gifting of subs does actually work. Appreciate you, my dude. Debbie Justice, thank you so much for 25 streams in a row. The stream streak continues. Do I mean drink the tea? Yeah, I'm sitting here enjoying my tea while it's hot, you know? You don't have a note block, sadly, but anything similar to Halung. You love that Nordic tribal stuff. I don't know the genre as well. Yeah, it's weird because it's like Nordic folk. But then folk music has a different sort of term for like the 70s, and stuff like Bob Dylan is considered folk. I do know some. You know what? I'm going to be disappointed with myself because my recall is like really slow. But it just came to me. Wardunna or Wardundra would be one in that genre that I listen to like them. And I've come across a few more, but today my brain's a little slow. Yeah, I'm getting old, aren't I? Dang it. Constant reminders of it. Songs that go like la 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 and wah 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 wah. I ain't got a clue. I ain't got a clue. Right, let's do this. It's time to concentrate, people. And we start with a little bit of a panic, of course. What else? Aha, I can see where we're going now. Whew. Kind of scary. Kind of scary. So we want to plop our butt down here, drink this, and then jump in the lava. Not fun, is it? Not fun. And we desperately don't want to get shot at. But this is my fate right now. I should really do one of these. Yeah, we'll do one of those. A thingamabobber, because that's the official terminology for it. This music's kind of quite fitting for the Nether. Hello, musically illiterate tone-deaf viewer here. How do you tell the difference between all the genres? There are so many I don't even know what they mean. It's a really good question because it's just like, it's almost like second nature to me to talk about it. So I think it would help if you told me something you were into that I could relate it to, like movies or art. Because genres exist in art, they exist in movies as well, right? Maybe that's a good way to think about it. I don't know what other things you could be into, like Minecraft videos. There's genres of Minecraft videos. There's genres of way to play the game. Speedrunning, building, redstone, right? These are like categories. So in music, the beginning of genres will probably be more historical. We'll refer to like eras. Like classical music is often thought about as, you know, old music, whereas it's actually like a late period of that sound. You know, your strings, your orchestras playing lots of music together, and its history comes from what was available at the time. Like, in order to hear music pre-electronic amplification, you had to go to places and listen to music that was composed. So music was once written on paper and passed around for different people to perform it. And this probably confined the sort of range of genres that you would have. So you have like periods of evolution across hundreds of years where various different ideals and styles like take hold, but it mostly sort of resides in that framework alongside what you would call maybe folk or traditional music, which would be like, you know, people in the town that could play an instrument, and then they'd all sit around in the pub drinking ale and playing instruments and singing songs together. And then going into the 1900s, you start to get diversification of sound when amplification comes in, and, you know, things like the electronic guitar, and then later on you get electronic instruments like the keyboard. These all create new sounds and new possibilities, and with this, people inject different stylistic ideas, and things like rhythm start to evolve. And what people want to do is they want to classify that stuff. They want to be able to talk about it to each other, and that's where we then get these genre names from, because how are you gonna say what sort of music are you talking about? People group romantic, classical, baroque, all into the classical turn. Yeah, that's 100%. Even more modern orchestral music like Shostakovich is called classical when Shostakovich was alive in Stalin's Russia. Yes, exactly. It's because the classical becomes like a catch-all term, and it's originally a term for an era. Like pop music, when that term first arose, it was referring to what was popular at the time. But now we call pop music just stuff that's popular, right? And a little bit generic and sort of cast of a popular palette. Even that, though, changes over time. But this is the thing about genres, is that they have histories and these things change. Like hip-hop music, right? Hip-hop today doesn't sound like hip-hop in the 80s, right? Like, it's evolved. And sometimes that comes along with people changing the name, like classic hip-hop. When I was growing up, classic hip-hop was the 80s. Now, classic hip hop is the 90s. You throw on a classic hip hop playlist, right? You used to hear the Sugar Hill Gang and Schoolie D, and now you'll hear Notorious Big and Tupac. Like, that's just the perspective shift. Now people think the classic stuff, because it's that word classic again. The classic stuff is Biggie and Tupac, but at the time when Biggie and Tupac were the new fresh stuff, the classic stuff was from the 80s, you know? Golden era hip hop, they might call it. And then you get like, so with genres, you get like micro genres where you've got like a broad definition of a sound. Hip hop is usually, you know, beats and rhymes. You hear DMX and Lil Wayne on classic hip hop, exactly. But then, like in the 90s, you have a subgenre that I'm fond of called mafioso rap, which, and again, like rap and hip hop is very interchangeable for genre names. Mafioso rap is where the rappers were like taking influence from movies like The Godfather and Scarface, and doing a lot of like rhyming that paints a picture of like a luxurious crime-funded lifestyle, and like that lifestyle doesn't appeal to me at all, but I love the way the words paint pictures and how it all comes together with the vibe of the instrumentals. Like they're really like forging an image through the sound. Subgenres, yeah. So you get subgenres and then you get like microcosms as well. So we're currently listening to what you might call dungeon synth. You could probably call it fantasy. It's got a little bit of what was once called fantasy in it. And then I believe this one's like inspired by Conan the Barbarian, but it's got its own like distinct flavor to it. And so within dungeon synth, there's like dungeon synth is very bedroom composer music, and it can be very low effort. And because of that like low effortness, I've seen lots of like artists try and attempt to establish like a new sound, like vampire synth or something. And I don't really buy into all of them. Like jungle synth has been a thing. Pterodactyl synth is just like all I've seen of it is a total joke. You need someone to come along and put in some like really like deep, thoughtful, emotional music where you're now convinced that actually synth from the perspective of dinosaurs somehow means something, and I haven't heard that yet. So yeah, so like with genres, for example, let's take metal, first known as heavy metal, starts with, well, you know, Black Sabbath were always given the props for heavy metal, but there's other bands before them which were referred to that as at the time as well. But you know, it starts with heavy metal, and this is where the guitars, the electric guitars, start to embrace distortion, and they tend to be a little bit more rhythmic, a little less focused on melody. And so this is what a genre is. Like, there is a stylistic divergence from the norm, and now we need to like categorize what this new movement is. And so you get heavy metal. Now going into the 80s, some of these heavy metal bands, they start to play faster and faster. That's the new thing. This is how they're going to diverge. Then in comes this term speed metal, which is actually kind of like died out, because as speed metal was a thing in the 80s, the term thrash metal for bands that were like trying to one up the speed metal bands came around. I need to go get some red glass. Let's end this little thing. I don't know what to call it, but I might use that footage for something. Best way back to the hub, should we? Oh my god, part of me wants to try and ender pearl into there. That'd be madness. Can you even imagine? I could probably drift from here down to it. Oh my god, and it doesn't lead anywhere! Oh, what was the point of that, X? What was the point? You had it all figured out. I think this might break through to somewhere. Yeah, looks like we can do that. So you go from speed metal to thrash metal because some bands start, you know, edging out and getting a bit more wild, and then in the middle of the 80s, like someone hears thrash metal and they start to do the guttural vocals, and like they're trying to push the sound and make it go darker and faster, or sometimes slower. You get death metal, and then after death metal you have like a rebellion to that sound with black metal. And so like there's all this like back and forth and push and sway between the bands like in the scene, trying to do different things with the sound. And that's what genres are, you know. Did I answer your question? I feel like I just waffled for about 10 minutes on that one. Sniper, thank you for 120 months. That is 10 years, my friends. 10 years. Thank you so much, my dude. I need like a 10-year emote now, don't I? You get Evil X today. You get Evil X. Right, so we're done with that. I really need to make some more as backup then. We'll do that now just so I can go back in with a potion. And then we need red glass. Wait a minute, we're making fire res, so like, you want that, then you want that, filled up. Put one of those in, followed by that. Sweet. I like this bit of the track right here, this is really cool. Quite a nice bit of momentum going there. I guess we'll make some more. By the way, who asked the question and did I answer it well enough for you? Where does grunge come from? That's a great question. So grunge, a lot of people attribute it to Seattle. Grunge is kind of like a rebellion to hair metal. So early to mid 80s, you've got thrash metal and speed metal. That's the underground, the true stuff, right? It's like, as a thrash metal fan, it's really easy to buy into that mindset and forget that like hair metal reached a lot of people and it still has a fan base. But I think given the status of bands like Metallica and Slayer, I think it's very clear that like thrash metal kind of won out there as the celebrated genre, and that hair metal was more of a fad. But you know, like my personal bias is wrapped up in that opinion. So hair metal it's got a bit of like a vapidness to it. It's a bit cheesy. It's a bit of a trend. Some people love it. I've tolerated it more as I've gotten older, and I've got a few like classic hair metal songs on my playlist now, just because you know you can have fun with it. It's really like upbeat, energetic, party fun music as well, but very much kind of locked in the 80s vibe. So as a rebellion to that, like going into the 90s, that music was starting to fall off. People were getting a little bit tired of it and waiting for something new. And grunge just has its like predecessors coming out of like the rock scene in the late 80s. There's a few like key artists, but people always cite Nirvana, and it's pretty like, I've heard it said so many times. I didn't live for it, but I've heard this said so many times it feels true, that like when Teenage Spirit came out, basically hair metal died and grunge was the new thing immediately. And so, you know, the approach that they took with the guitar, like hair metal has a lot of virtuoso, you know, blazing guitar solos, fast playing, a lot of dexterity and skill. And, you know, grunge was a complete U-turn from that. If you go and listen to Kurt Cobain's solo on oh my god, my brain has got Teenage Dirtbag. Like, no, that's that Wheatus song, isn't it? Smells Like Teen Spirit. Gosh, this brain is useless these days. So Smells Like Teen Spirit. If you listen to the solo in it, like, if you picked up a guitar and just practiced for a week, you could probably play it by the end of the week. Maybe even sooner. I've not got a lot of like referential experience with how long it takes to learn to play that, but it is so easy. And like a lot of the guitaring it's not virtuoso. It's like a U-turn. It's kind of putting a middle finger up to that stuff, and it's focusing on emotion. And that's the other thing. Like hair metal had a lot of like machismo about it, and then grunge comes along and it's all like, you know, now we're emotional. Now we're vulnerable, you know? Really big influence on nu metal, if you're a fan of Korn, is to realize like how important grunge was to metal to create Korn, because Jonathan Davis as a singer is incredibly vulnerable and sings about things that no one else had touched on before then, but it took someone like Kurt Cobain before him just to open that door and show you like you can be vulnerable. And there will probably be people before Kurt Cobain that could be cited for that stuff as well, you know. How did I get into music, X? When I was a teenager, it just started calling to me. I would hear it and it was like, oh, this is the best thing ever. Wow, I should definitely keep listening to this. How would you categorize Deftones? New metal, shoegaze, alternative metal? Probably a mix of all three. Like, I think their first records, they were... I'm saying this from, like, having listened to interviews and watched documentaries about them. I think they were kind of, at first, excited to be part of new metal. So their first album kind of embraces that. But then, by the second album, I think they realized, like, if you want longevity, you kind of need to be your own thing. And so pretty quickly... they sort of distanced themselves from that label, but they kind of been lumped in, and they were collaborating with, you know, and friends with new metal bands like Korn and stuff. So they were like part of that scene, but also trying to be individual as well. And I think their sound warrants them being not just thought of as new metal. They're one of those bands that I think you need to understand, like, that, yeah, they had some of that, but they took other things that were going on at the time as well. Thank you for the explanation, X. New metal / metalcore is my favorite, but grunge makes me think of my parents, so I was curious to hear where it comes from. Definitely makes sense that hair metal was it, since my dad loves hair metal too. I wasn't saying grunge does not come from hair metal. Grunge is like the antithesis of it. It's the reaction to it. It's the opposite. It's like people got sick of hair metal, and grunge is like the opposite of that. That's what I was saying. I maybe didn't quite articulate that too well. As for metalcore's an interesting genre. That's like sort of like late 90s, post-noughties, new sounds that came along kind of after new metal. I like metalcore. I like the some of the earlier stuff. Not so keen on the more like screamo side of it. But I've never been massively into metalcore. It's like I'm kind of aware of it. Oh, you didn't put the words together correctly, but you know what I meant. Okay, cool. Good to clarify, though. You love the music talk so much. I'm glad you do. I like waffling over here. Post-noughties metal sounds good too. I love the post-noughties. Am I getting that right? Post-90s is what I meant. Post-noughties would put you in the 10s, right? Yeah, I love noughties metal, but that's because, you know, that's my era, right? And there's a particular like vibe that I'm very fond of from those sort of more formative young adult years, if you like. So I have like a real soft spot for stuff that came out then. I was recently writing about this band Scarve. I've stumbled across them on Spotify, and I was like, I really recognize this like album cover from somewhere, and their whole sound being like so close to Meshuggah, it felt like something I probably saw through my Nuclear Blast magazine subscription, but never actually like listened to it at the time. And then I go back and listen to it, and it's like, oh man, this really fits into that era of sound. I can hear it, you know. It sounds like it's out of that point in time, even though I've not listened to the band before. So I've really been enjoying their music. Where does shoegaze come from then? Okay, so shoegaze comes from post-punk, and post-punk is probably like the most important genre. If you like 80s, 90s, noughties music with guitars, post-punk is probably the most impactful genre you are going to find, but it's also the most umbrella term, okay? By umbrella, what we mean is it's kind of a catch-all for lots of other sounds, because post-punk just means after punk. But to understand the umbrella term is to realize that when punk came along, right? Punk is like, music used to be very professionalized, and you had to be, you know, you had to have gone to college, you had to know how to professionally perform, etc., etc. Punk said, actually, anyone can buy an instrument, you can plug in the guitar, you can turn up the distortion, and you can play 3 chords and turn it into a song. It made it accessible for more people. It was an absolute musical revolution. But after that happened with the Sex Pistols and oh my god, my brain's so slow. The Clash and other bands as well from that era. In America, the Ramones. Like you get, you know, what's after it, what comes after it, right? So post-punk is, when you go listen to a lot of post-punk music, you can kind of hear a little bit of the architecture of that sort of accessibility, that like less professionalism and more regular people getting their hands on instruments and coming up with new sounds. So you'll hear some like hangovers from the punk sound, but it really stylistically diverges. Like a band like Dead Can Dance, for example, if you go listen to, let's say, their 3rd or 4th record, you know, it's singing in like styles that you would associate with history and with world music. So a real like rich tapestry that it's pulling from. And the synths and the compositions, some of it are like, you know, like Gregorian chants and going back into like the 1400s to search for sounds and reviving them. And like that is so far from punk, but if you go listen to their first record, you can hear them bringing those ideas out from the punk sound. And something like industrial is born out of post-punk as well. You know, industrial, people toyed with mechanical sounds in the mix, lots of pounding rhythm and repetitive sounds. And that's thoughts on The Cure, Six, Joy Division. These are all post-punk bands as well, right? So when you go listen to them in the context of like punk just happened, the Sex Pistols happened, and now these are the guys that came out after it. And it's just a massive umbrella of ideas going in lots of different directions. It incorporates the arrival of synth as well. You got to realize that, you know, keyboards became massively accessible around that time. And so so there's like this big explosion. Sophia says my favorite industrial sound is Rammstein. So if you like Rammstein, go and listen to a band called Ministry, 2 songs, Just One Fix and New World Order, and you will hear the template for Rammstein. You will hear Rammstein sound in their music. That is a very strong link. Ministry, if you go back and listen to a band called Killing Joke, you will hear the template for Ministry sound in this band called Killing Joke, right? And Killing Joke are a post-punk band. They came out of punk, they started to incorporate these industrial ideas, and like this is the evolution of music in action. You can just hear, like, when you go through it and you go and trace what bands influenced others and you start to build that mental map in your mind of like music scenes and genres, you find these paths and they're just fascinating to explore. They're really, really interesting. We got some noises in the ear. We got Vichank coming in for 7 months. We got Sir Munzo here for 6 months as well. Thanks so much to the both of you. Appreciate your support. Appreciate it. Thoughts on Lorna Shore? I've seen them live twice now. They're cool bands. They're like not precisely my cup of tea. If they stripped out the breakdowns with the ridiculous vocals, I would be so into them. But those breakdowns got really old for me back in like 2008 when there was the race to the bottom in the deathcore scene. Like that stuff was like done 20 years ago. And now it just feels quite derivative. But like to see them play it live and to see them like cheekily laughing at each other while they're doing the breakdowns, like kind of made me realize like don't take it seriously. But yeah, the breakdowns really turn me off on their music. Otherwise I'd be bang into them because they're basically like really good, the good spectrum of deathcore, but with like the orchestral Dimmu Borgir creation that came around like Death Cult Armageddon onwards. Like Dimmu's influence on orchestral black metal sound like those deathcore bands like Lorna Shore have really embraced that and done some really cool stuff with it. You find it can be a bit repetitive, but the energy is excellent. Yeah, some of their lead guitar stuff on their latest record was kind of repetitive as well. Like it's got so much like blazing melody throughout it, but then like a lot of the songs feel like they hit the same kind of strides and motifs, and it ends up being a little bit like disorienting. Like sometimes you're like halfway through the record and am I listening to the first song again? Can feel a little bit like that. We're gonna do something cool. I got an idea I want to execute. We're gonna grab, let's get 3 of these. Then I'm gonna need, oh, do I even have name tags for this? I do. Fortunately, I do. I can't remember where I got these name tags from, but I'm glad that I got them. There should be a beacon there as well. I can't remember if there's still a beacon shop, so I'll put that back in there. So we're gonna get those. We're gonna need to place them, then strip them down, then wax them. Right, that's the process. Unless I want them. I think I want them green. Actually, I think I want them green. So that would be 1, 2, 3, and then immediately wax them. Yeah, okay, we'll do it that way around. So now I'm going to need some pumpkins and shears. KMFDM is a great band that definitely has been influenced by Ministry. Yeah, they're really cool as well. Have I heard about Opeth? Yeah, Opeth are incredible. So, like, talking genres, right? You have death metal, not a genre everyone's keen on. And then you have progressive rock and progressive metal. Progressive rock is originally a term to just say, oh, this is the next evolution of rock. Bands like Genesis and Jeff Roltall and, oh my god, thinking of my dad's record collection now. What's the Brain Salad Surgery? There's so many of them. I can picture the record covers. Is it ELP? Pink Floyd you can throw in there. Like, progressive rock is like quite a big genre, but now it's kind of known for being the sort of epic long songs. They were some of the first bands, maybe since like the classical era, because, you know, listening to music used to be a 3-hour event if you go back hundreds of years. Like, you would go to a theater and listen to music for 3 hours straight, otherwise you'd be upset. That's how much of a big deal it was. And now people want to listen to a song for 30 seconds and swipe next. What's going on, people? What are we doing? I'll take the 3 hours. Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Yes, ELP. Yeah, that's the one. Genesis would be my absolute favorite progressive rock band. But anyway, then progressive rock basically becomes the template for that, like, late 70s, 80s rock sound of, like, noodling long songs and just going crazy with the music. It's kind of hard to describe if you haven't listened to it, but there's a certain vibe to it which kind of focuses on lengthy music with lots of virtuoso in there. Then that eventually becomes progressive metal, where, you know, people take the metal, the progressive rock and do it metal style. You know, long songs, intricate riffs, fancy song structures, all that kind of stuff. And then Opeth are this band that, like, post-progressive metal being, like, early 90s is probably its peak, and death metal's peak is around the same time. They come along and they fuse the two together, and the identity that comes out of that, like, Opeth are just this, like, unmistakably them band. I can't think of any bands that sound like Opeth unless you're listening to them and you're like, you're really trying to sound like Opeth. They're fantastic. Yeah, Rush is a really good progressive rock band, yeah. Yeah. Genesis with or without Phil Collins. I'll take both. I love Peter Gabriel. I love Phil Collins. I kind of love their entire catalogue. Maybe Calling All Stations suffers a little bit, but even that's got a couple of charming songs. For me, Genesis are just an absolute powerhouse of a band. Just to stick around for so long and make so many great records. And then when you might think they're done, going into the 80s, they continue just to be a force to be reckoned with. And they kind of peak. They kind of peak in popularity at the end of the 80s and the beginning of the 90s and then call it quits. Like, that is a band with like a 30 years upwards trajectory. Not a lot of bands have that kind of structure, you know? Like, when you go back and look at all the records and you see like, oh, that was the one where that artist peaks or whatever, right? Like, I don't like to bring this guy up, but look at Kanye, right? First few records are just, you know, so massive and influential, and then starts to taper off a bit, and then an unbelievable downwards trajectory after that. Like, falling off a cliff in recent years for obvious reasons. Maybe Kanye was a terrible example. What about Metallica? Like, people hate on Metallica's Load and Reload records and point to that as being a downfall. For me, I love Load and Reload, and I actually think they're cracking records that if you can just go, okay, it's not going to be the Black Album, it's not going to be Master of Puppets. Imagine some other band did it, you would love those records and goes, those are great records, right? But we can all agree that Scent Masterpiece is definitely not a masterpiece, okay? Scent Anger that is a band that's struggling. And so some bands have trajectories like this. They start strong and they fall off. I find a lot of hip-hop artists from the 90s and mainly the 90s, you tend to find that first albums, maybe one or two, are really strong, and then artists just seem to fall off after that. It's a very common trend in hip-hop. I think it has something to do with the nature of like breaking out of the hood and trying to make it from like a dark place to a wealthy place, and that transition as an artist, I don't think like the struggle being your impetus for all the artistic creativity, it goes away once you make it, is what I think happens for a lot of them. Yeah, so what were we talking about? Oh yeah, like bands' trajectories and stuff. And yeah, and Genesis basically are like pretty much class. Maybe a couple of records here. Like I think Duke was a bit of a miss, but they were also like trying to shift the sound. And what comes after Duke, the self-titled and Invisible Touch, are phenomenal records. So like even when they fumble, they're actually onto something new. And Genesis just have this unbelievable upwards trajectory as a band across 30 years. They're just phenomenal. And actually, you know how like the Beatles are kind of like immortal, and Queen's another great band, right? Queen are kind of immortal. There's some of these bands that I think are just locked in, Metallica being another one, and people will keep talking about them over and over again. Pink Floyd as well. Like, I don't think it's so much that the chemistry of the music that they wrote means they deserve that, in whatever that means, but like, I think there's just sticky space between people to have shared bands and things that we want to talk about. And over these years, the Beatles, Queen, and stuff have taken that space. And I feel like Genesis are one of those bands that should be up there, but I don't feel like I see a lot of people talk about Genesis. It doesn't feel that ubiquitous. And I don't know what that is, because I feel like their music totally warrants it. Like if any band had a shout at like being as well known as the Beatles and Pink Floyd and stuff, I would put Genesis top of that list. Like obviously those bands are, and so are Queen, so are the Eagles, right? Like, you know, we got these bands and artists that everyone knows the name of, but I feel like I just don't see. Does anyone else feel this way? Like, do you not see Genesis come up in that conversation that much? Mumcraft says, I had 5th row center seats for their Abacab concert. It was amazing. Oh, that sounds so good. I saw them live once when I was very young, and it was when it was Calling All Stations and no Phil Collins. Then I found out that they did a free concert in Rome that me and my dad would have absolutely gotten on a plane, flown over and gone and seen. Somehow we didn't know it happened, missed it. And then I got to see them play when Phil Collins was sick in like 2022, post-pandemic. He had to perform sitting down, and his son played the drums. And that was actually like a really great experience to go watch them. Even though very old and like not quite like it used to be, obviously. I think once you get past a certain age, you're not going to be able to like recapture that magic. That's just going to happen, right? Now tell me, chat, am I getting it right? It's dinner bone like that, isn't it? Double N. So we make a the golem. We get them waxed. We flip them upside down. Then we're going to need leads and fence posts. I'm picturing everything we're going to do step by step. So we'll take a bunch of them. We'll get some fence posts. And then we'll get something else. What's the other thing I need? Fence posts. Leashes. Spears. I think we can use sticks. I think we can just use sticks. Doesn't have to be an actual spear. That means we'll need chests to put items in for them to grab. So copper chest. Let's head over here. Left or right-handed, I think that is. I'm going to just go with the regular thing. Put that down here. Hey, look at me with my spear. Sweet. No underscore, just dinner bone. I thought it had an underscore on it. Phil Collins' voice cuts through your brain in an unpleasant fashion. I think everyone is wired differently. I think you need to find whatever way you can to unwire that bad wiring, because that is a travesty. That is a travesty. Phil has such an incredible voice. Yeah, okay, so apparently we don't need Jeb as an underscore, not dinner bone. Okay, so I'm just being a derp. Right. Peeps, I'm gonna nip to the loo. I'm gonna nip to the loo. Toodaloo. That's where I'm gonna go. Wait a minute. While I'm gone, check out my music if you've never done it before. It's free. It's free, people. It's free to listen to. You can go do that. Go do it now. I'm back. Whew. I'm back. What software do I use for writing music? Mainly Guitar Pro. And my brain. What about that software? My brain's soft and squishy. Don't poke it. Have you ever thought about dinner bone golems in your ceiling, says Pitching Rock? I think that you figured out what I'm doing. There's no way that I've put together these items in my inventory and you're like, oh, I wonder if X has thought about using dinner bone golems in his ceiling. No, there's no clues here whatsoever. You use MuseScore and LMMS. You see, I think I would like to learn some new writing software, but the question would be like, what software would I go with? And there's that whole like time cost thing where you're not sure how long it's going to take. Like, because ultimately, learning new software, you want to be able to walk away from it writing songs faster. And the biggest thing I can think of would be if I could plug my guitar in and have it transcribe what I'm playing for me. Like, there's issues with tempo and stuff, but like, it doesn't have to be precise. If we just get like a like a basic thing in there, and then I can work with it. But I'm just not aware of anything like that. I'm just not aware of anything like that. Let's go ahead and use a replay here. So I think I also need some scaffolding. Oh yeah, ender chest. I fully anticipate a little bit of chaos right now. So the one that's further away is where I want the golem to be. Ah, there's one of those there. See, I kind of need to put that here. Yeah, and then we go up. So I don't know how tall or how... That alarmed me for a second. I'm going to leave it like that. I don't know how high up we need to put a fence post to get the right kind of effect here. Oh yeah, I also need an axe. I told you there'd be a little bit of inventory chaos here. X just keeps coming back to his copper arc. Maybe. Maybe. I feel like, is it me or is it like everyone's looking for something ironic all the time, it feels like? And it's like, how much have I been coming back to my copper arc? I haven't done anything with copper in a while. It's something I noticed in comments and stuff. It just feels like there's like a lot of search for irony. Okay, right, that's good. I can actually go ahead and put a spear in there. You'll grab the spear because you're a well-behaved golem. Yes, you are. Then we're going to leash you. Hey, where are you going? We're going to try and drag you up the top there. I don't know how this next bit's going to work, though. Yeah, there is. There's Ultimate Meow. I feel like there is. I mean, I read a lot of my comments, right? And, you know, there's always this... I'll do something in my video and someone will turn it into some sort of, like, let's laugh at X thing. And I'm fine with it. Like, have your fun. But it feels like everyone's looking for it a lot of the time. Feels like people are looking for that. You know, like, if I take myself out of the equation... Can I not nudge you when you're on here? If I take myself out of the equation, you know, Mojang will release an update and, like, people say things like, oh, it's been, you know, seven years and they still haven't made the torch flower emit light. And it's like, they never said they would. Or, like, missed opportunity to do this thing and that thing. And it's like, is it? Everything's a missed opportunity. If you can think of something that hasn't been done, you can call it a missed opportunity. So is it? Things like that. It just feels like people are looking for it. And I don't find that particularly engaging. There's nothing wrong with it. You can say whatever the heck you want. You know, it's just... Is that a vibe like I'm picking up on, or is it just in my head? Missed opportunity. They should have added competitive matchmaking for fighting mobs in Minecraft. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, you know, what a missed... Oh, they didn't see that, did they? Mojang. Lazy Mojang. Missed opportunity. I think... Oh, my God. Where is it? Like, am I here? Am I going to leash you up here? I think we could, like, experiment now with this. Because I think it's actually standing on the scaffold right now. So when we do that... I kind of maybe don't need you to be one block higher. I'm not sure. How does this next bit work? Because does the lead, like, get in the way? So if I do that and then... Oh, interesting. I might need to go up there and releash it, though. Might need to releash it. I kind of feel like I should probably put the next bit in there, because we might go up through that gap. So now when I dinner bone you... That's freaking awesome, man. That's freaking awesome. Oh, I like that. I think this thing was actually one block higher, though. I think it was up by one block, because I kind of remember wanting it to, like, recess a little bit in. So I think what we'll do is do that now and then go up there and see if we can move it a little bit tighter up. Dude is awesome, though. Dude is awesome. He's going to poke someone. Yeah, right in the eye, probably. Right in the eye. Okay, so I'm going to need to put another fence post a little bit higher. Not that high, though. Have that back, please. I'm doing crazy mad science here, yo. Now, I think what will happen is it will ping upwards and then pull it up a block, right? Oh, does it actually look any better there? Maybe it did look fine where it was. Like, if I'm down here... No, I think it needs to be one block down. It needs to be one block down. We'll do that then. Okay, down you go. That should make it easy for me to change the block. There's like one other experiment to do here. And that is to now go and pull it up again and see if it just goes that tiny little bit tighter to the block, which I think might help. So here we go. And then I saw you get pulled a little bit. Yeah, now you're definitely like on the block. You've been pulled forward a little bit onto the slab. I guess it makes sense, like, but now the way the block's behind it is a little bit off-putting. I think I'm gonna push it down one again. Will you now? Yeah, it's directly below it because it's not touching it, right? It's like gravity. And because it's not touching it, it sort of stays exactly there. So that's about as good as it's gonna get, I think. That was really fun. Do you want to know how long this has been on my ideas list for? A really long time. It feels kind of silly. Now that I'm here doing it, it's like, this is awesome. I should have done this ages ago. What took me so long, man? Right, so I want one there. I'm going to put one here, a little bit more tucked away. And then I think we're going to have one somewhere around here-ish. Like, I don't want you to see them all at once, is kind of the idea. You'll definitely see two of them at once. So the one... Oh my god, it's so good. The one that's going to go over here has definitely got to be on this side. So I'm going to put it... I think I'm going to try it underneath that block. Oh, I see. So we'll give us a gap. That seems to work better. So we want our scaffolding here. If I do that... These are kind of like the blocks that I need to put back, so maybe not those ones. I need to like jump, there you go, from somewhere to somewhere else. What are we listening to today? Very mysterious background music. It's written on your screen. We're listening to Atlantean Sword. Some Conan the Barbarian inspired dungeon synth. Let's read a little bit of chat. I've been waffling. Yeah, how do y'all feel when you're online reading comments and stuff? Does it feel like people are looking for irony a lot? I did see a few people, but only a few. Like, tell me if you think not. Because sometimes these things are just like the way people now talk, you know? Chimeras is not sure. Fair enough. Now we're on the next album. You can see the track name. Yeah. Yeah, we're like... Oh, we're almost through the next record, though. You feel like people want to insinuate dramas all the time. I'm tired of it. Is that like when people comment online and it's like, this is literally the worst thing ever? You know, like it just taking things to an unnecessary place. Feels like a lot of people are looking for problems. Yeah. I feel like it's the online environment is just not a great method of communication. It kind of like encourages us to express things in a lazy way. And so you get these kind of comments that are kind of like divisive and unhelpful and yeah. That's how I see it anyway. People will seek ways to hate rather than spread love. Maybe I see it as like, you know, the being online, commenting. It's like a bad incentive model. You know, it brings out the worst in us. It's kind of the vibe. I'm not sure if people intentionally want to do that. Like behaving bad online, I'm not sure that means that like you're a bad person. It's just like maybe the way this thing's set up isn't particularly great. So was that one's going to be flipped right there, isn't it? Yeah, we're going to flip you. It almost looks like it's standing on the wall is what's weird about it. Yeah, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Okay. Yeah, we'll put that there. All right. We're getting quicker at this. The next one's going to be super speedy now. Yeah, and also like when someone says something and someone else just throws 1,000 insults because your preferences don't line up one-to-one with theirs. You've had it a lot for liking rally cars and loads of other types of racing cars. Just try to start argument. Yeah, it's like, because we have that weird condensed way of communicating online, someone expresses something, there's not a lot of depth or nuance to it. There's no humanity in it. And then someone else will reply, but then their reply is like just naturally going to be reductive because of how we communicate online. And so it's like, it gets boiled down to something that comes across as just an insult, you know? Like reading people argue online is draining. But if you got two people with really different views in a room together, and provided you can have some goodwill there, like you would probably have a much more interesting conversation. You're back from your food adventure. I had some interesting dinner. You know, I feel like I don't want to talk food. We talked so much about food last time. Let's not go there today. I enjoyed my dinner, but like, I'm well fed. I'm on to the next thing. X has much more faith in humanity than I do, says the one tiny dragon. I have a lot of faith in humanity because we just launched a rocket to the moon, and there's people on it. And doing things like that are unbelievably difficult. However, the way that we do them is by cooperation and working together. And I think that the news cycle that we have, the news itself, gets us to focus on negative things a lot. When you hear about this destructive thing here, this bad thing here, this negative thing there, it grabs your attention. But it takes away from the bigger picture of all the things that go right every day. And if you're, let's say, lacking a little bit of trust or feeling like you're part of society or whatever, sometimes all that negativity can detach you from all the things that are going right. So when you look at something like going to the moon, you have to see how many, there's an unbelievable amount of levels of cooperation and working together that has to happen right to make something like that happen. You might just be thinking, you know, okay, yeah, there's 100 people working at NASA. And oh, yeah, there's another 100 people building the rocket. Okay, that's not a lot. But, like, think about how far it spreads. Like, if you're going to build a rocket, you need materials. Where do the materials come from? You know, this is like a depth of cooperation behind everything. It goes all the way into the way the whole world is strung together, and that people cooperate and coexist, and it makes the wheels turn. But we kind of, I think we forget that when we're seeing these negative storylines about the moments of destruction, because destruction's very powerful. Oh yeah, we've got to give you a spear before we send you up. I tuned into XB Crafted stream earlier, and he was talking about expertise. Like, I caught a very little bit of it. Very little bit of it, so I don't know exactly what he was saying. And I know in this day and age, we have we kind of have like a bit of a problem, a lack of trust in institutions and skepticism around expertise at the moment. But I was watching stuff about the moon earlier today, and I had what XB was saying about expertise in my mind, and it made me look at all that cooperation and like ask the question, how much expertise is there that goes into something like launching a rocket around the moon with people on it? Like, absolutely, wealths and depths of knowledge and expertise are required, and we have that, and we're struggling with this thing where we're becoming a little bit skeptical of expertise in certain places and stuff. But like, if you look around yourself for a split second, you see expertise absolutely everywhere, right? If there's a carpet on your floor, or your floor is poured concrete, or like it's a surface like wooden panels, take a moment to realize how much knowledge is hidden behind that thing doing what it does. And then think about walls, structures, electricity. You know, you don't turn on the light switch and get an electrical shock. Why? Because we have expertise, because we have trust. These are really powerful forces that I think we're constantly distracted from, realizing that they're like all around us all the time, and that they're a big part of society. And it's like the destructive nature of bad things that people can do really sort of deters us from that. Boop. That's so good. Got to enjoy that last little touch there. Very cool. We got some upside down golems guarding the place. I love it. That was a cool idea. Spicy Bowtie, thank you so much for 2 months. We also had Power Bars gifting a sub. That was 20 minutes ago. I missed that one. Thank you for gifting, my dude. You love the moon, says Spicy Bowtie. I love the moon too. Yes, Xisuma, but the sad thing is that some of us live in horrible situations. Racial injustice still exists. Social injustice is thriving. Within all the good things happening in the world, humanity still creates bad things. I'd agree we should all look on the bright side, but not turn a blind eye to the darkness that is rampant. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm not encouraging people to turn a blind eye to it. I just think my personal feeling from what I see online and what I take in is that it feels like being online is amplifying a negative perspective on all this stuff. Another thing about like injustice, social injustice, if you have a historical perspective, we're on an upwards trajectory with that stuff when you zoom out. Thing about zooming out is that like detail in charts become a line. Things aren't linear. You know, there's rocky moments, and right now we might be in a rocky moment where things are swinging the wrong way. But I have faith they will swing back in the right way again, because a lot of this stuff is really messy and complicated as well, and so it's not just a clear trajectory. But it does feel like, you know, progress has been going in the right direction for a long time. If you look at it historically, it came from very bad places, obviously. But I say all these things because I think that that's the good in humanity figuring its way out of the muck. Like, we started in the dirt, in the dark, and we're figuring our way out of it. I will admit though, like that, I was very into that perspective of, oh, we're making progress after I read, what's his name, Pinkerton's books. Is it Steve Pinkerton or Stephen Pinkerton? Or something like that. And this other guy who wrote the book called Factfulness as well. Like, these books really kind of like turned me onto a more positive outlook, but there's a part of me that kind of looks at the way society is structured and the way we treat resources, the way we're treating our planet, how we look after our environment. And I mean, it's like just a baseline, just how we like go about day to day, and we don't see these bigger problems. And I know that we're making efforts to tackle them, but I'm kind of like worried. There's a part of me that looks at all that stuff and thinks, this ain't sustainable, right? Like, I've got to be an optimist. I've got to be, I got to think we've got to move forward with an attitude of we got to do our best and be optimistic. But there's a part of me that's like, if I were a betting man and something was on the line, I can't help. I have this nagging feeling the way we're chewing resources out of this planet, it doesn't feel sustainable. And it keeps going, because I've lived through, you know, a couple of decades of being aware of this, like how capitalism works, consumption, constant growth, with finite resources, and it just keeps going. And, you know, like, if you roll back the the clock's 20 years, I thought that the end of it was right around the corner. And the thing is, from a historical perspective, right around the corner can be 100 years, it can be 1,000, it can be 10,000. It depends from how far out you're looking. So we live in a kind of like a very, like, you live in the moment. And so it like when we say it's right around the corner, are we talking months, years, decades? Like, if this thing comes to an end, if we are doing it wrong, where is the end of it? Yeah. Someone just put a message in chat that I read online the other day and saw people absolutely lambast them for it. The Chiwi says, we're in a fuel crisis and they just sent a rocket to the moon. Yeah, you see, these things aren't like directly correlated, you know? Like, the world's a complicated, messy place. The thing about sending a rocket to the moon, if you have that kind of attitude, is that, like, sending a rocket to the moon employs an absolute ton of people at the same time. Like, it creates jobs. So often the whole, like, concern about fuel prices is related to jobs. You know, like, society's not black and white. It's not simple. You can't just go fuel crisis over here while we send in a rocket to the moon. Should we stop doing that and then distribute all of that fuel to ordinary people? I don't think they even use the same type of oil to go to the moon. And then what about all the things we'll learn and technology will unravel and create by taking on these hard challenges? Like, also, how much fuel, like, here's the other thing. How much fuel is in a rocket to go to the moon compared to how many people use fuel to drive every day? I have a feeling it's a drop in the ocean. It might turn out that sending a rocket to the moon, if we didn't do that, it might even be a net loss to roll it back, to be like, okay, let's take this fuel, let's find a way to distribute it, let's redistribute the resources. Oh no, we've spent way too much time and effort doing that. Like, yeah, rockets don't fly on gasoline. Yeah, they use a different type of fuel. This is the thing, like, the world is so complicated and messy, and yet we, online, we, like, just distill it down into these simple little statements, and they don't work. They don't use oil, it's hydrogen and oxygen. There you go. Not sending a rocket to the moon won't solve the crisis. I mean, that's a very simple way to put it as well. Yeah. Funny you say drop in the ocean, considering what people are doing to the ocean also. Filling it with pollution, plastics, all this kind of stuff. Yeah. We use it as a dumping ground. It's crazy. That rocket to the moon will also have plans and earmarks for this time and date a lot longer than the fuel shortage / war in Iran, plus anything else going on in the world at the moment. Exactly. Like, how much effort have we put so far? How many man-powers, hours, planning, and effort has gone into this? And then we go, oh, oil crisis, let's not go to the moon. Like, it would just be such a huge loss to pivot on that, you know? There's a couple of videos from Barry's Economics. That channel, is it like a spin-off of Gary's Economics? I'll make a note of that, because I'm quite interested in people's takes on economics. Like, it's a weird thing. If you're young out there and you're like, this guy was talking about music, that was my jam. Now he's talking about economics, I'm going to sleep. I found over the years that, like, this desire to, like, understand the world has, like, emerged, and then things like economics have actually become interesting to learn about to me. A lot of economics is people trying to explain and understand how the world is, like, coexisting and working and creating an economy. But a lot of it is just theory, and there's such an overwhelming amount of data that can be interpreted as so many different directions, that, like, a lot of that stuff is just theory. So it's always interesting to hear other theories and then, like, factor it into your own way of thinking and looking at the world. But anyway, going to the moon is absolutely 100% awesome. I'm one of those people that loves NASA and thinks it's just such a great organization to have in the world. And it breaks my spirit a little bit when I see people moaning about NASA and stuff. Like, it's a beautiful thing. We need a little bit of that, right? Don't we need a little bit of trying to go to the moon and doing stuff like that. It's so easy. It's so easy to be like pessimistic and be like, oh, but we could use that money to feed people, you know, and not understand that in this day and age, food security is somewhat solved, right? Feeding people is not like it's kind of a solved problem. The reason people starve is more because of geopolitics, war, and in a way capitalism, or a lack of a social net in some places. Like it's not this whole like take money from there and move it to those people over there type thing. Like a lot of people and food shortages and stuff happen because of other disruptive situations and things like war, you know, like people starve when war happens. And so you could be like, oh, let's go and tax the billionaires and take their money and feed those people. But it's like, you can't give them, you can't get the food to them. Like there's another country there and they're at war, and the reason they're starving is because, you know, there's soldiers invading, and sometimes they use it as a weapon. They use, you know, starving a population as a sort of part of the war, right? Like, again, this stuff's just like really complicated. The way the world works is just so interconnected in a bunch of different ways, and it just doesn't break down that simply. Yeah, and this is the sort of thing you see online. People will write that comment, and it's like, it doesn't quite work like that. Knight Diaz says, Rocket comment, the harsh realities of economics. Rocket talk, economics again. Is that what we're doing? We're going in a rocket economic circle. Starvation is the oldest form of warfare. That sounds like a real quote from somewhere. If you just coined that one yourself, I mean, it's grim, but like that sounds very quotable. Yeah, it's a form of warfare, exactly. Dundan 5 Stream Streak coming in saying the safety margins for landing on the moon were very thin. Reading about the number of accidents they barely avoided is inspiring. Yeah, it is. It is. It is. And this is another thing about like odds and statistics. It's like going to the moon. We just about did it. The odds were razor thin. And when I hear stuff like that, I'm always like, I wonder what the other, like, let's say the odds were like, we say 1 in 10,000 chance we actually did it, but we did. We landed on the moon, right? What are the other 1 in 10,000 odds events in the world where we didn't? Like, I always wonder about that, because we have we want to tell stories. We want to focus on amazing events, and we like to quantify things into statistics and probabilities. But do we flip the coin and count all the times something failed? So for like every time we landed on the moon, are there other things we tried to do and failed? Because like we hold on in history, we hold on to these big moments and then we let go of all these other things. And I always wonder, like, can it be quantified in that way too? The One Tiny Dragon, thank you so much for the Prime. Appreciate you, my dude. Thanks for supporting the channel. Peeps, where are we at? I think I need to look at my little list because we... Oh, did I didn't save it. Okay, so we got that as well. What's on my notes list? Oh yeah, we'll do a light level check around the base. That'll be nice because we can just simply waffle. Yeah, we could. Wait, what did I just change in my? Okay, yeah, I just confused myself a little bit. We're going to do a light level check, and we're going to then probably refill some bottles at the honey farm. I just have a list of notes, so like stuff to do when we're streaming. Well, we're streaming. You just watched Hidden Figures recently. It's quite relevant today with the themes of discrimination and progression in an optimistic lens. I watched that movie years ago. I really enjoyed that. Isn't that the women mathematicians? Or were they computers? Because people forget that computer used to be a job. And do you know what replaced it? Blooming computers. Oh my god, you should be so angry right now. Forget AI taking our jobs. What about all the computers? People used to compute. We forget this. History is a fascinating thing to learn about. Like, job replacement is like a force of nature that's just been happening over and over again. Yeah, compute used to be a job a person did, to compute numbers. Then we created what we know as computers today. Like, how many, you and your phone, do you know how many jobs your phone has put people out of? You're watching this stream. Do you know how many computers, I mean people computing numbers, it would take to calculate all the pixels on your screen? You are terrible. You have replaced so many human jobs with that screen and that little computer in your pocket. Oh, how could you? Is Danny, thank you so much for 39 months. 40 even, because they throw multiple numbers at me. Time flies really fast, huh? Hope you have a nice day today. Thank you. Yeah, I'll definitely having a good day. X, how often do you listen to music in a day? In quite big chunks. Usually at the computer I'll listen to music while I'm playing Hermitcraft and stuff. And then if I go, at the moment when I go for a walk, it's either music or like a podcast. And I've been listening to an audiobook at the moment. I definitely used to listen to music a lot more throughout the day, but I've sort of been drawn into the world of like podcasty learning, audiobooks. That's kind of... Oh, don't let me in. Yeah, okay. I just remembered all the bone meal is over here. So we might as well just do a proper stock up, you know? AI isn't taking jobs. They're outsourcing them to countries with lower labor costs. I heard about this. They like used replacing jobs with AI as a front to just outsource the labor to cheap coders in India. And it is just, oh, this is some of the bad stuff about capitalism, right? Just these incentives can be very negative. But hey, what about the people in those countries? It's good from their perspective, is it? They're now getting some work? I don't know. The world is a complicated, messy place, people. X, when does your job get replaced? I don't know. I got to admit, I feel strangely optimistic and safe. Which might be famous last words. The reason why is because I think this AI slop stuff might create a bit more like want for enthusiasm. Enthusiasm for authenticity. And I don't know. I can't help but feel like moving forward, like there's not much of a reversal trend against like society's becoming increasingly lonely and antisocial, and like it's weird to say it, but like I'm a part of that problem. I think having streamers that sort of substitute having a friend or whatever, like that's kind of part of that, and it doesn't seem like the trend is changing. I think if people started going outside more and going back to the old ways of socializing, I think my job would be up for grabs. Well, not grabs, it would just be declining, right? So, yeah, in a weird way, I kind of see where I'm at right now and what I do as sort of being a part of the direction things are going in. So, yeah, if people, like, started to reject technology a bit more and get back to going outside and having proper relationships with people, there would be less of an appetite for this. And with the AI thing, I think there's kind of more of an appetite for authenticity right now. Northern Rose says, do you know a cool thing I found out last night? The overview effect, the feeling of awe and deep connection to humanity when humans look down on Earth can be triggered in VR, meaning you don't actually have to go to space to have it. I thought this was wild. This is Northern Rose. That is seriously cool. Here's the thing, though. If you fancy doing a little bit of research, I can't quite remember the origin of this. You should look up studies on how the overview effect affects people over time, because it's often seen as being like, oh, if only we could get people up into space to look down at Earth, it would solve all our problems, right? It gets talked about in that tone. Someone at some point did some research and found they went and found lots of people that have been up to space, looked down and had experienced the overview effect and then found out what's happened to them since. And it was pretty pessimistic. It was kind of like if that whole effect disappears after a while, and they found one guy who's like now a CEO in some business that has all these terrible practices, and it's worn off. Do I have a paper recommendation for it, or just in general? I don't read papers. I listen to podcasts, and I would love to tell you which podcast I heard it on. In fact, no, it's coming back to me. It wasn't a podcast. It was an audio book. Okay, I could possibly find this for you. Whoops. Let's fix this up. How would I best quickly find this? I think I know how to best quickly find this for you. So you go give me a second here. I've got to go look something up quickly. And I will get you back to the source of that information. Also, I really need to drink because my mouth is dry. I'm getting there. I'm getting close. I can feel it. Oh my god. Maybe I'm not getting close. Sorry, I'm just running through a chat history here and not realizing just how far back it actually is. Each time I think I get closer, it's like, oh, and then there's that thing, and then there's that thing. Oh my god. I'm very near to it now, though. I know that. Okay, here we go. There it is. Okay, so the book I heard about it from is called More Everything Forever. More Everything Forever. AI overlords, space empires, and Silicon Valley's crusade to control the fate of humanity. It's on Spotify Premium if you have that. So the author of that book is where I heard about this from. Okay. This guy claimed that, you know, they did some research. They looked into the overview effects. They found someone who got the flip side of it, if you like, and went and followed up with people who had experienced the overview effect to find out like what's happened to their life. And if I remember, the conclusion is basically it fades away after a while and people just sort of default to normal, and some bad stuff continues to happen. You know, like they cited this CEO. I mean, it might be like a bit of a cherry-picked response, but they cited some CEO of some company that's got all these environmental harms against it, and they're like, well, you know, what did the overview effect do there then? That was a really interesting book, though. We've lived through a little bit of history. This is the weird thing about getting old. You live through history. You will remember how you felt about stuff, and then you will start to feel different about it. And that's living through history right there. So for me, 4 or 5 years ago, very optimistic about the future. Technology was really exciting. AI was just, oh, this is going to be incredible. And then you live through the implementation of some of this stuff. You see the way companies and people deploy it, and the whole landscape changes around you slowly. And sometimes it just hits you in a moment. You're like, this stuff isn't fun anymore, or, you know. And recently my whole feeling towards you know, the Silicon Valley tech world and AI stuff has really shifted, and it was kind of like the feeling shifted first, and I didn't know how to articulate it. And then as soon as I came across those parts of the algorithm that push the conversation on that in front of you, then I was like, this is interesting, I want to hear this. And now I feel a little bit more informed as to why, like, I understand better why I feel this way now, like why it's changed. You was not expecting such a deep conversation on a Minecraft stream. You loved it. I seem to not be able to help myself when it comes to the old deep convos. It's the way my brain works. I just seem to keep thinking on that kind of level for some reason. Yo, Infinity! Thank you so much for subscribing! New subscriber, welcome aboard. Thank you so much for the support. One could predict the AI not being fun, though, honestly, but we went through the hype vibe. I don't know, like, like, the way it's played out was not the vision that I sort of had of it early on. And I've been following the AI stuff from, like, probably around 2016. It's a big thing now, but I was following it way back when, like, it just wasn't something that was mainstream. And I think it's just the implementation of the technology has been kind of ugly. It turned into a race to try and dominate and make money, you know, and be the first to capitalize on it. And that's just turned out to be quite ugly for a whole bunch of different reasons. And it's not been the interesting thing that I thought it would be. However, it still can be. It still could be that with more time, things can shift and pivot, and like better uses of this stuff could prevail. I mean, right now, the problem is that you got these big companies trying to make money out of it, and to do that, they're kind of like trying to force it everywhere they can, and it's just been like really ugly to see them do that. But that's only one side of the picture, because what about all the advances in medical science that it's been helping with? And there's other places where it's done really great work, and that just doesn't come into the conversation when you want to talk about the negative aspects. And you know, one day some of that stuff just might be taken for granted and ubiquitous, like running water. God, can you imagine not having running water? Oh my god. Like toilets. Toilets are incredible. Can you imagine if we didn't have sewage and toilets? Oh my god, it would be awful. There's a word for that. Dysentery. Do you know what dysentery is? If you haven't had to live with dysentery in your life, it's kind of a blessing. Like, there's all these things we forget about. Like a collective amnesia. And I feel like some of the things AI will offer one day will probably be like that. They just become like these ubiquitous, under the hood, don't even think about it. Your life's just better because this little system over here got automated. This pain point got solved by that. But I'm not aware of a lot of stuff like that happening right now. I'm just saying, one day it might get there, you know? One day it might. We might figure out the proper way to implement this stuff. Why are we talking about dysentery, says Hot Gamer? Because it amazes me like how terrible it was to live at certain points in the past. And it's just kind of forgotten about. Like, we used to have some real problems, you know? Some hard stuff to solve. And there's just a whole world of like technology, medical advances, science, knowledge that have like taken so much pain out of our lives. It's incredible. Should have never Googled that. Yeah, Googling dysentery might not be the healthiest of images. You think self-driving cars have the potential to save so many lives? Me too, man. Me too. If done right, it feels like a no-brainer to one day automate that. If you think about it, we already have some like semi-automated forms of transport, and they tend to be the safer ones. This is what the buttons are for. Don't always you need to use glow lichen, right? What about trains? Trains are probably highly automated, right? Ah, now what about these bits here? Like, I got these stones. I didn't think about the other types. Oh my god, I gotta go get some blackstone stones. I've got to vary it up a little bit. Planes are already mostly automated at this point. There are millions of times safer than cars. Yeah, however, right, I was having this thought the other day about that because we hear that, but the thing about statistics is that they can be a little bit warped. So, like, you're supposed to be safer getting on a plane and traveling somewhere, right, than going into a car. But then I was thinking, like, but what about mileage? Because, like, a journey on your car is a lot shorter than getting on a plane. So if you then took those numbers and applied it to per mile, does it change much? Or, you know what I mean? Like, you have to have a little bit of faith that whoever put those statistics together thought about these kind of questions and did their due diligence to make sure the perspective on the numbers was correct and stuff. But, like, what if they got it wrong and then that became the pervasive, like, fact that people pass on over and over again? You know, like, I'm not saying, oh, they got it wrong. I'm saying, I don't know. Like, what's the origin of that thing? Because there's so many, like, facts and ideas that we share between us collectively, and we just have to rely on that kind of trust that, yeah, that's actually real. There's also, by the way, there's a huge bias that we'll have where, like, if you're a big like electronic automated cars person, and I'm like, oh yeah, they're going to be safer, you're going to be like, yeah, of course they are. If I come along and say, hey, this study says they're not safer, you're like, it messes with your bias. So it's very easy to, like, hear information that fits your narrative and take it on and be like, of course, you know? Got to watch out for that. It's a common trap that people fall into. Right, gonna light up a little bit of this. I'm not gonna go too mad over this side just because we haven't really moved in this direction much yet. But yeah, my general thinking with lighting stuff up a bit more was just I've seen a few mobs here and there lately, and I'm like, I don't want to have a bad day. Let's not get creepered, so let's keep those mobs further away for the time being. Let's have more of that ambient glow across the hills. The hills have eyes. Electric is kind of ruining racing, though. I don't know quite what you're referring to, but I'm gonna say that, like, as technology advances, racing will get less and less competitive because of all the edges that technology will, like, gleam out of a race. It's the same thing for, like, sports tech as well. Like, setting world records happens less frequently and at less of a margin than it did, like, you know, 20, 50, 100 years ago. Technology will, like, wean out all of those minor differences and make things less competitive in a way, which is kind of crazy. So with racing, like, understanding the physics of how, like, drag works and torque and all these other racing related terms, like, it takes the competition out of it because you do the research, you do the science, you figure out how to optimize, and then all the racers, their competitive advantages, or at least, like, the difference between humans sort of disappears into that technology. And I heard this, like, calculation. I don't remember the specifics, but someone basically looked at the history of setting world records and kind of, like, managed to calculate that we're at, like, a 96th percentile, and that in, like, the next 20 years we're going to hit a plateau for breaking world records. And again, statistics, numbers, right? They have to make calculations. We trust in their judgment to think of all the different factors that could go into it. Maybe someone discovers something new that disrupts that whole calculation they made, but if you take it at face value, that's really interesting, you know? That we might reach peak world record setting for, like, athletics and Olympics and sports. It could happen in your lifetime. That's crazy, but it makes sense. Technology is just figuring out so much about how we work, how to optimize us, how to optimize the tech that we use, like running shoes, you know? They had to ban certain swimsuits because they made swimmers too aerodynamic, which is a weird thing. Puppies, tummies, another raid. Thank you so much. Welcome on in to all of the raiders. And thank you again, puppies. Appreciate you. We are having a right old waffle today. A right old waffle. You don't think aero on cars will max out? Fluid dynamics are just so crazy, says Wabba. Well, the podcast I was listening to that was explaining all this actually came to the same conclusion. But they, like... It's not that it's not gonna max out with like options. It's gonna like, yeah, but fluid dynamics will always have like room for more improvement because of how complex it is. I think the way they described it is that you're still gonna have that like edging down of all the edge cases. You're gonna kind of distill things down to their most optimized state, even if you don't figure out the entire ins and outs of fluid dynamics in that process. It's not tech, it's the limits of human potential. It's tech too, because we have technology when we do athletics, like running shoes is technology, and what shirt you're wearing. You know, if I set you off to a race and said, here's some heavy clunky biker boots, and here's a really heavy snow winter jacket, and it's really hot today, and you're racing against someone in, you know, Nike Airs with some special Lycra what's it called? Drag resistant material. Like, it can give you an advantage. And also the technology and the science allows us to understand human anatomy, you know, diet and nutrition, and optimize all these things. So, you know, the technology is what's allowing us to advance with all these world records and stuff, right? Like, it's a huge part of that equation. Okay, now that we're here, we're gonna stock up some glass bowls. How do I get out of this space? Isn't Winter Olympics mostly about better equipment? The one where they go down a tunnel, top teams always have the best fancy sleighs. Yeah, so different sports will have different degrees of technology impacting it. So, for example, something like racing, F1, I mean, it's probably like 95% technology because you're driving a car. Like, where's all that speed come from, you know? Maybe something like running is a little more simple. Maybe there's a lower range of impact that something like your shoes can have. What's the most niche thing I know? Am I going to pop out the step-by-step on how Viennetta is made one of these days? I don't know what the most niche thing I know is. Isn't that pudding? I used to love that ice cream cake pudding when I was a kid. And I haven't had one in so long, but I also have no desire to have one. Aha, look, this is why we've got to come back here and do this, people. This is why. We're going to have a faulty honey bottle farming operation otherwise. I wonder if the witch farm has got some bottles we can load into here. Oh, we're faulty all over the place at the moment. Oh, hello there. I'll take these. You can see why I left them now. Charity weekend is right around the corner, eh? It's another week. So after this weekend, it's next weekend. It's not tomorrow. If you thought it was this weekend, you got the wrong weekend. Whoa! Oh, they need topping up too. Dang. Dang. So if I went and got 9 stacks, yeah, maybe quite a bit more. Actually, no, we've probably got that many over here, right? By the way, I'm still trying to light stuff up. I think we're good around here though. Oh, we were just down here, I see. Okay then, we'll make our way back round again. At some point, I'm going to build a little elevator for that. So yeah, all of that will work. Absolutely. I'll leave those in there for now. And then we'll make some shears, and then this thing will keep doing what it needs to do. But it's godlike. It's worth feeling rubbish for. That feeling rubbish for, that's all the sugar in your body after you eat it. As you get older, like when you're a kid, that doesn't even bother you. When you're in your 20s, it's hardly an issue. But once you get into like your 30s and your 40s, you're gonna feel that sugar in your body after. I really like my homemade ice cream because it doesn't have all of that sugar in, and I can just eat a whole tub of it, and then like after I feel fine. I highly recommend it. Get a Ninja Creamy. It'll change your life, bro. You can just eat a liter of ice cream and not feel guilty about it. How cool is that? Oh, that one's bottles too, is it? Okay. The ones that are red are bottles. Oh, I see what's going on here. They kind of got messed up, right? By having the honey bottle in them. And now they need a little reset. You could probably design the redstone different and put a clock there, so if ever it got powered, it would like keep trying maybe, but I'm not worried about that. Fish Chop Sammys, thank you so much for 12 months, the whole year. Appreciate you, my dude. Thank you so much for the resub. All right, iron is next, right? Iron be next. Let's go ahead and do this. Come back to that project in a second. Apparently I already had one of those out. Okay. Where am I putting things? This makes no sense. That's good. Okay, so that shears, I'm just gonna put in however many that was. I should have counted. Wasn't that like, there was like half a stack, I think? So if we do that each time, yeah, that'll work. Then we get like an even distribution. And that means if ever I have to come back and do this again, it's not all lopsided. You can't eat a liter of ice cream normally. It depends. I mean, like, it depends why. Like, if it's from all the sugar overwhelming you, then yeah. But like, is it because your belly gets full? Like, I can eat. And even when I get really full, I feel like I can keep eating. So I can eat a lot. And a liter of ice cream, I can eat that after I've had like a massive fruit bowl's worth of salad. Like, I can just keep eating. It's crazy. Like, some days I will have a ginormous fruit bowl full of salad. And then after it, I will just have like a liter of ice cream and still be hungry. But that's just me. But hey, like, if it's from the sugar and stuff, like, you don't get that when you have your little homemade ice cream and you don't ram it full of sugar. Siberian Wolf, thank you so much for... Oh, what did happen there? Stone block. Gifting a sub. Appreciate you doing that, my dude. Appreciate it. Let's play the animation. Okay, so we want to finish off this lighting operation as well. I guess we want all of those things if we're doing that. I think I might be able to sort my inventory today as well. Maybe. Maybe it's a bit too late in the day for it. Nah, I'll probably have to do it some other time. Anyways, enough about that. So we're looking for... Aha! What's all this? Now that isn't really supposed to be there. That was temporary, digging that hole. So, oh, look at this. Okay, so we need like... There isn't granite buttons, is there? Do we have like red pressure plates? Oh my god, then all of that up there, that's ugly. Okay. Okay, I'm finding where the problems are, people. I'm finding where they are. Some of this might just be very temporary lighting, that's okay. Just want to keep the area safe for the time being. Mangrove buttons. My man, Snow Owl. My man in the chat with the solution. Also, pressure plates, right? I think pressure plates might go there a little better. Some red pressure plates, yeah. Okay, one over there. Oh, wow. There's a little bit of it going on down here as well. Maybe even in here. Did they put it on... put it on the top side? It's kind of weird, that. Yeah, like, one of the things to do in the future is to come up to the top here and, like, properly do all the roofs, but that's not going to happen until we get closer to the end of building all of this. And I haven't had a bit of a building kick in a while. It's been a bit weird. I've been on a bit of a drought on that front, but I'm just going to wait for it to hit me. And when it does, I will then dutifully do some more building. I know what my next buildings are going to be. I just need to find that inspiration and write it. What's my favorite color? Oh, my favorite color is tartan. Let's grab some of these then. We're going to do this, are we? Already got some pressure plates, not enough. That should do the job. You thought it was blorange. It's also blorange. It's both, you know? Can I have both? Right. This might be annoying. Because I have to place... Oh, and then... No, the pressure... I'm going to accidentally set off the... Something will set off the pressure plate. No, we're going to go with buttons. Like, I'm thinking I'll set it off, but then something else will, even if I'm clever enough to avoid it. Wow, do I have to, like, break those two blocks? Oh, no, I so don't want to do it this way. I think we're just going to use a lot of rockets, right? It's just the way it's going to be. It's going to be tedious and silly. I have to slam my face in here, place the button, leave, and do it again. Ah! So tedious. Scaffolding? Yeah. Yeah, scaffolding would work. I'll tell you what else would work. A little bit of thinking ahead. If I... like that. I'm 2 birds, one rocket. 2 birds, 1 rocket. No, 2 buttons, 1 rocket. That's the one. Bam. What a dodgy job this is. I'm like Fred Dibner. Okay, yeah, then this one here. Maybe that one. Yeah, this wasn't so bad, was it? That one there. Right, that was all of them, I think, that needed lighting up, so that's not bad. It's not bad work at all. Who's Fred Dibner? He's this British building guy who... I think he used to demolish chimneys, and he would, like, rappel off of them on rope and wood. And we're talking in, like, the 60s or 70s. And there's videos of him on YouTube, and the guy is just insane. He's just, like, rappelling down these ginormous brick chimneys that you can see from miles away, and it just doesn't bother him. He doesn't even have any safety gear on, you know, no helmet, no belt with like a buckle thing, no safety line. This was way before the health and safety days, you know. Like, health and safety wasn't even a concept. He was a steeplejack, worked on chimneys. There we go, we've got a professional name right there. Professional name. Peeps, if you enjoyed today's stream, be sure to leave a follow over here on Twitch. I don't know when I'm going to stream again. It'll either be Saturday or Sunday, and then we'll probably do our usual thing. If you look on my schedule, though, you'll see next week I'm probably going to not stream Thursday and stream Friday, and then I will do a pre-stream on the Saturday before the charity stuff kicks off. Winnie, I didn't see the LPMT reminder, so this is all it is today. I'm sorry. I didn't notice it, so I wasn't prepared. But yeah, if you're looking for something to do and you want to check out my music, because you've never heard me say that before, which is like 1 person out there, but you know, worth mentioning, I guess. You can do that. Soulside Eclipse is the one. And I will go look for someone to raid. But yeah. So, next week, I'm going to stream on Friday. That's before the charity weekend. I'll stream on Saturday before the charity stream starts. If you want a bit of pre-stream somewhere to hang out, I'll be there. And then Sunday, I'm doing MCC. So that's all I know for my streaming plan at the moment. But yeah. All right, I'm going to send you over to Autism Father, who we raided the other day. Although I had a feeling... I had a feeling when we raided them, it was right when they finished their stream. And I just tried to raid them, and it said there was an error. So I think they literally just finished their stream as well. Yeah, it won't let me raid them for some reason. Or maybe the raid stuff's broken. Like, what's going on here? Am I not able to raid? We're going to do like a random channel. Okay, let's try a random channel today. Oh, okay. Well, I can raid this other channel, so hopefully you find something you enjoy. Thanks for tuning in, people. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.